Sarah Chen wiped condensation from her helmet visor as she navigated the derelict station's maintenance shaft. The beam from her headlamp cut through darkness that hadn't seen light in centuries, revealing geometric patterns etched into the walls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the light. Control, this is Chen. Entering Section 7 Alpha of the Helios Array. Still no sign of what triggered the power fluctuations, she reported, her voice steady despite the unease crawling up her spine. The response came back garbled, static eating at the edges of the words. Copy. Chen. Maintain. Protocol. The rest dissolved into white noise. 14 hours into her shift at the edge of explored space, Sarah was the only human for light years. Horizon Corporation had discovered the abandoned alien station 3 months ago, declaring it a technological goldmine before promptly sending in teams to strip it bare. But the station had other ideas. Systems would mysteriously power up and down, maintenance bots would vanish, and entire sections would seal themselves off without warning. Sarah's job was simple: keep the power flowing to the research teams, but nothing about this shift felt simple. The fluctuations had led her deeper into the station than any maintenance worker had ventured before. She paused at an intersection, consulting her holomap. The blueprint flickered, distorting as if something was interfering with its projection. That's when she heard it, a sound like crystal wind chimes in a digital storm. Control, I'm picking up some kind of audio anomaly. Static was her only answer. The sound grew clearer as she followed it, her boots magnetic locking to the floor with each step. The maintenance shaft opened into a vast chamber that her headlamp couldn't fully illuminate, but she didn't need it to. The chamber was already lit by a soft, pulsing blue glow. Floating in the center of the room was what she first mistook for a piece of abstract art, a crystalline structure about 2 meters tall, with facets that shifted and flowed like liquid glass. It rotated slowly, emitting that haunting chime with each turn. But what made Sarah's breath catch wasn't its beauty. It was the crack running through its core, leaking what looked like liquid starlight. Her suit's sensors went wild, detecting energy patterns that shouldn't exist in normal space. The crystalline entity's rotation slowed as she approached, and the chiming changed pitch. It wasn't random noise, it was language. Sarah reached for her belt, unclipping the universal translator that was standard issue for all station personnel. It was designed to decode any potential alien communication attempts, though so far it had only been used for deciphering ancient station markings. The translator hummed to life, its processors straining to make sense of the musical language. After several tense moments, words began forming on its screen. Danger. Pursuit. Help. Help. Sarah whispered. You're alive. HFY Stories. The Guardian. Wounded. Pursued. The crystal structure trembled, its light dimming momentarily. Sarah's training screamed at her to back away, to call it in, to follow protocol. But something else, something fundamentally human, made her step closer. I'm Sarah. I'm a maintenance engineer. You're hurt. Cordestabilizing. Hunters, follow. Must protect the knowledge. The translator struggled with the next series of chimes, but Sarah understood enough. This wasn't just some alien artifact. It was a refugee, and something was hunting it. She activated her suit's scanning system, watching as data scrolled across her HUD. The entity's energy signature was unlike anything in Horizon's database, but the structural damage was clear enough. The crack was spreading. I might be able to help, she said, already reaching for her repair kit. I work with exotic energy systems, if you'll let me. Dangerous. Bonding required. Humans fragile. Sarah almost laughed. If there was one thing humans had proven throughout their history, it was that they were anything but fragile. Try me. The crystal's rotation stopped completely. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a tendril of liquid light extended from the entity, reaching toward her outstretched hand. Sarah's suit sensors screamed warnings about unknown energy signatures, but she didn't pull back. The light touched her glove, and the world exploded into color and sound. Images flooded her mind. Vast libraries of knowledge stored in crystalline matrices, a civilization that had transcended physical form, and dark shapes hunting through the stars, destroying everything they found. She saw the entity's journey, fleeing across galaxies, seeking a safe haven for its precious cargo of knowledge. When the connection broke, Sarah found herself on her knees, gasping. The entity's light had dimmed further, the crack now visibly wider. Danger. Sarah pushed herself to her feet, her decision already made. I understood enough. You're trying to preserve something important, and something else wants to destroy it. That's all I need to know. She began unpacking her repair kit, laying out tools that were never designed for this purpose but would have to serve. I'm going to help you, but you'll have to guide me. Show me what you need. Why, help. Risk great. Sarah's hands moved steadily as she calibrated her tools. Because that's what humans do. We see something broken. We try to fix it. We find someone in trouble. We help. Sometimes it's stupid. Sometimes it's dangerous. But it's who we are. The entity's chiming took on a different tone. Something almost like laughter. Humans. Unexpected. You have no idea, Sarah muttered, activating her plasma welder. Now let's get you stabilized before whatever's chasing you catches up. Control's going to notice I'm off-grid soon, and we probably don't want an audience for this. As she worked, guided by pulses of light and crystalline song, Sarah couldn't help but smile behind her visor. Of all the ways she'd imagined first contact going, performing emergency repairs on a crystalline entity, while hiding from both her employers and mysterious alien hunters hadn't been on the list. But then, humanity's greatest moments rarely came from following the expected path. They came from those moments of choice, when protocol said one thing and conscience said another. When the safe option was to walk away, but something deeper said to stay and help. The entity's light pulsed stronger as she worked, its chiming growing more harmonious. Outside the chamber, warning klaxons began to sound. Control had noticed the power fluctuations. They'd be sending someone to investigate soon. Sarah worked faster. She had chosen her path, and there would be no turning back. Whatever came next, she would face it knowing she had acted as the best of humanity would, with compassion, courage, and the unshakable determination to help those in need, no matter how alien they might be. The real adventure was just beginning. The station's emergency lights painted the chamber in pulses of crimson as Sarah raced against time. Her repair work on the crystalline entity had stabilized its core, but the approaching security teams would complicate everything. They're going to lock down this entire sector, Sarah muttered, checking her holomap. The entity's chimes had grown stronger since her repairs, though the crack in its structure remained visible. Humane authorities, whale tionantein. Study. Dissect. Not if I can help it. Sarah's fingers flew across her maintenance console, rerouting power and scrambling sensor readings. But we need to move. This chamber won't stay hidden for long. A burst of static erupted from her comm unit. Engineer Chen, this is Security Chief Martinez. Your life signs are showing elevated stress levels. Report status immediately. Sarah took a deep breath. Control, this is Chen. Had a close call with a power surge. Situation under control. The lie felt bitter on her tongue, but she pushed aside her guilt. Some truths were more important than protocols. DCEPT Lion, CAUSE is da STRASS. Why continue? Because sometimes protecting what's right means breaking the rules. Sarah finished her sensor scrambling and turned to the entity. Can you move? There's a maintenance sublevel that doesn't appear on any official maps. I found it last week but never reported it. The entity's crystalline surface rippled, its light dimming slightly. Movie meant possible. Limited. Koori still he ailing. Then we'll have to risk it. Sarah began disconnecting her repair equipment. Those hunters you mentioned, how close are they? The entity's chiming took on a darker tone. Near. Pursuing through dimensional barriers. Time short. Security voices echoed through the corridors outside, growing closer. Sarah made her decision. She activated her suit's emergency protocols, transferring all power to the reinforced exoskeleton layers. I'm going to create a containment field. It should mask your energy signature and help you move, but you'll need to trust me. Trust. Dangerous concept. Welcome to dealing with humans. Sarah managed a grim smile as she calibrated her suit's field generators. We're all about dangerous concepts. The entity's light pulsed once, almost like a nod. Sarah activated the containment field, watching as invisible energy waves surrounded the crystalline being. The field wouldn't hold for long. It was draining her suit's power at an alarming rate, but it might buy them enough time. Together, they moved through the maintenance shaft, Sarah guiding while the entity floated within the containment field. Each step felt like walking through molasses as her suit struggled to maintain power. Chen. Martinez's voice crackled through her comm again. We're detecting unauthorized power usage in your sector. Stand down and await security teams. Sarah clicked off her comm. As they descended into the unmapped sublevel, the entity's chiming changed pitch. Sharing required. Understanding needed. What do you mean? NOLGTRINSFER. Show why hunters pursue. Before Sarah could respond, a tendril of light reached through the containment field, touching her helmet. The world dissolved into visions more vivid than before. She saw a civilization that had evolved beyond physical form, preserving their knowledge in living crystal matrices. She witnessed their discoveries. The nature of consciousness, the folding of space-time, the bridges between dimensions. But with understanding came responsibility, and not all were worthy of such power. The hunters were once part of their civilization, a faction that sought to use the knowledge for dominion rather than enlightenment. When they were cast out, they began their campaign of destruction, determined that if they couldn't control the knowledge, no one would have it. The vision shifted, showing her the entity's role, one of many guardians scattered across the galaxies, preserving their civilization's legacy until worthy inheritors could be found. But one by one, the guardians were being hunted down, their knowledge destroyed. Sarah gasped as the vision ended, her mind reeling from the implications. You're not just running. You're searching for someone to pass this knowledge to. COREC. Hunters follow. Must find worthy SUCCESSORS before capture. And now you're considering humans. Sarah helped guide the entity through a particularly narrow passage. We're not exactly an advanced civilization by your standards. The entity's chimes held a note of what might have been amusement. ADVNCMENT NOTMEASURED by TC Neurology. MEASURED by spirit. Choices. Actions. They reached the hidden sublevel. A vast, dark space filled with machinery so alien it defied comprehension. Sarah's suit power was critically low, but they'd made it. Human and Sarah CHEN chose to help without knowing QONCQENC is. Chose to protect without demanding reward. Such choices are reveal truth of species. One person's choices don't represent an entire species, Sarah countered, finally powering down the containment field. Her suit immediately began recharging. In COREC, individuals were affiliated potential of bowl. Humans possess quality we hunters lack. Compassion balanced with determination. Security alarms blared in the distance, but they were muffled here in the depths of the station. Sarah checked her holomap, confirming they were off all official grids. So what now? We can't hide here forever. The entity's light pulsed rhythmically, its crack now glowing with a soft, healing radiance. Neno do you par pair. Hunters a piroich. Station authorities search, but time ji indeed for he ailing. For teaching. Teaching. Noavali g tranistafir be juan with vision. More required, if willing. Sarah looked at her hands, still trembling from the intensity of the earlier vision. Everything she'd been taught about first contact protocols, about corporate loyalty, about career preservation, all of it seemed trivial compared to what she'd just learned. "I'm willing," she said finally, "whatever it takes to keep this knowledge safe from those who destroy it." The entity's light brightened, its chimes taking on a tone of approval. Then learning begins. Hope remains. As Sarah settled in to begin her unconventional education, she couldn't help but smile. Humanity's first real steps into the galactic community weren't coming through official channels or corporate initiatives. They were coming through one maintenance engineer's choice to help a wounded stranger. Sometimes, breaking protocol was the most human thing one could do. In the depths of the unmapped sublevel, Sarah's world had become light and sound. 3 days had passed since their escape, each moment filled with knowledge transfers that pushed the boundaries of human comprehension. Her makeshift camp, assembled from maintenance supplies, was surrounded by holographic projections of equations and concepts that would revolutionize human understanding of the universe. "That's impossible," she muttered, staring at a particularly complex energy diagram floating before her. "Matter can't. I mean, the laws of physics. Laws as humans understand them. Incomplete. Limited by PERCPTY." The entity's chimes had become clearer to her. She often found herself understanding its meanings before the translator displayed them now. Whether that was a good sign remained to be seen. Sarah pressed her palms against her temples, fighting another wave of vertigo. The knowledge transfers were taking their toll. Her nose had started bleeding an hour ago, and the migraines were getting worse, but she couldn't stop. Not now. Phases distresses ancreasing. Pause, recon amended. No time. Sarah wiped her nose with her sleeve, leaving another red streak across her maintenance uniform. "Security sweeps are getting closer, and you said the hunters are nearly here. I need to understand more." The entity's light dimmed with concern. "Human in URL architecture, no to designing for Dariki, no to G to RNSFER. Damage possible. Then we'll have to redesign the architecture." Sarah stood, swaying slightly. "You showed me the principles of neural plasticity in that last transfer. If we combine that with your crystalline matrix patterns." She walked to her maintenance console, fingers flying across the holographic interface. Numbers and diagrams flowed across the screen as she worked, combining alien theories with human engineering in ways never before attempted. HFY dangerous, unprecedented. Story of my species. Sarah managed a weak grin. "Besides, we don't have a choice. The traditional transfer method is too slow, and it's killing me anyway. We need something more efficient." The entity moved closer, its crystalline surface reflecting Sarah's gaunt face back at her. Dark circles ringed her eyes, and her skin had taken on an unhealthy pallor. 3 days without proper sleep or food had left their mark. "Explain, TROPOSAL." Sarah projected her designs into the air between them. "Your species stored knowledge in crystalline matrices. You showed me how they work. They're not just storage devices, they're living interfaces. What if we created a bridge? Not just for data transfer, but for true neural integration." The entity's chimes took on a tone of alarm. "Integration. Untested with biological systems. Risk of complete neural collapse." But it would work. Sarah's eyes gleamed with fevered intensity. "The math proves it. We can create a temporary crystalline matrix within my neural pathways, allowing for complete knowledge transfer without the biological strain of our current method." She stumbled, catching herself against the console. The entity moved quickly, a tendril of light steadying her. CONCRN. Human Sarah, CHEN. Shows Zygenas of NURL strain. I'm fine. She wasn't. They both knew it. But I need you to understand something about humans. When we commit to something, really commit, we don't let anything stop us. Not physical limitations, not laws of physics, not even our own biology. The entity was silent for a long moment, its light pulsing thoughtfully. DTRMINation noted. Admirable. Also CONCERNING. Sarah began gathering components from her repair kit, repurposing them according to her new designs. The hunters are coming. We both feel them getting closer. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. The entity's surface rippled with what might have been resignation. Kiro CED. But with MMODIFICHEION. A stream of new information flowed into the translator. Adjustments to Sarah's designs, safeguards she hadn't considered, ways to protect her human consciousness during the integration. Together, they worked through the next several hours, building something that had never existed before, a bridge between crystalline and organic neural networks. Sarah's hands shook as she made the final connections, her vision blurring at the edges. Ready? Sarah took a deep breath, attaching the neural leads to her temples. Ready. The first surge of energy nearly stopped her heart. Her world exploded into fragments of light and knowledge, each shard containing universes of information. She felt her consciousness expanding, stretching to encompass concepts that no human mind was ever meant to contain. Then something shifted. The overwhelming flood of data transformed into a stream of pure understanding. The entity's consciousness met hers in a space between thought and light, between matter and energy. In that moment, Sarah Chen ceased to be merely human. She became a bridge between worlds, her mind expanded by crystalline pathways that defied conventional physics. Through their shared consciousness, she finally understood the full scope of what they were protecting and what they were up against. The hunters weren't just seeking to destroy knowledge. They were trying to prevent a transformation, an evolution that would change the very nature of consciousness itself. The entity's civilization had discovered something profound. Consciousness wasn't limited to biology or even to singular dimensions. It was a force that could transcend all boundaries if given the chance to evolve. As the neural bridge stabilized, Sarah opened her eyes. The world looked different now, layers of reality visible that she'd never perceived before. She could see the energy flows through the station's walls, the quantum fluctuations in seemingly empty space, and something else, dark distortions approaching through higher dimensions. They're here, she whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that echoed the entity's crystalline tones. We are ready. Sarah stood, her movements now carrying an inhuman grace. The neural bridge hummed with power, her mind operating on levels that would have been impossible hours before. Yes, she agreed, watching as reality began to warp around them. We are. The hunters were coming, but they would find more than a wounded guardian and a human engineer. They would find something unprecedented, a fusion of human determination and ancient knowledge, ready to defend a legacy that could change the course of evolution itself. The real test was about to begin. Reality twisted around the hidden sublevel as the hunters breached dimensional barriers. Through her enhanced perception, Sarah watched as space itself seemed to tear, revealing shapes that human eyes were never meant to process. They moved like oil through water, dark crystalline forms that absorbed light rather than reflected it. They've corrupted themselves, Sarah observed, her voice carrying both human emotion and crystalline harmonics. Through the neural bridge, she understood what she was seeing. Former guardians who had chosen to remake themselves into weapons. CORUPTION complete. No restoration possible. The entity's consciousness flowed alongside hers, their thoughts interweaving through crystalline pathways. Sarah accessed the station's systems with unprecedented clarity. seeing not just data flows, but the quantum possibilities inherent in each circuit. Security teams are evacuating the upper levels, she reported, watching energy patterns shift through the station's infrastructure. They've detected the dimensional breaches. Martinez is ordering a full withdrawal. Humans SHOVUIS DOM in Retori 8. Not all of us. Sarah's lips curved in a grim smile as she initiated commands through neural interfaces she'd never known existed. Throughout the station, ancient systems began awakening, responding to protocols hidden in their deepest code. The hunters' presence grew stronger, their corrupted forms pressing against the barriers of conventional space. Through the neural bridge, Sarah felt their hunger, not just for destruction, but for the power they believed had been denied them. "Show me," she whispered to the entity. "Show me what they're really fighting for." The knowledge crashed through their shared consciousness like a tidal wave. Sarah saw the truth that the hunters couldn't accept, that consciousness itself was evolving, not just in their civilization, but across all civilizations, all dimensions. It was a natural progression, as inevitable as the expansion of the universe itself. But evolution meant change, and change meant letting go of old forms, old powers. The hunters had refused this truth, turning themselves into anchors against the tide of cosmic evolution. They didn't want to preserve knowledge. They wanted to freeze it, control it, prevent the very transformation they feared. "We can't let them succeed." Sarah's words carried the weight of understanding far beyond her human origins. Not just for your civilization, but for all of them. For every consciousness that will ever reach for something greater. Ajor ent, but QOst high, human Sarah, Chijian, KNOT maintain in Eurial bridge in definite elay. She knew this was true. Despite the modifications they'd made, her human brain was already showing signs of strain. Microscopic crystalline structures had formed throughout her neural pathways, allowing her to process vast amounts of information, but they were never meant to be permanent. The station shuddered as the first hunter breached their level. Sarah watched through multiple layers of reality as it moved through the walls, its corrupted crystalline form leaving trails of dimensional distortion in its wake. "They're trying to isolate us," she observed, watching as more hunters emerged. "Cut us off from the station's systems. Tactical ASSESSNE and Cooristi, or responds." Sarah reached deeper into the station's ancient protocols, her enhanced mind interpreting patterns that had lain dormant for millennia. "We give them exactly what they want. A target. A focus for all their fear and hatred of change." She began activating systems throughout the sublevel, creating a cascade of energy signatures that no hunter could ignore. At the same time, she wove subtle commands into the station's quantum substrate, preparing for what would come next. The hunters converged on their position, their forms resolving into nightmare geometries of crystal and shadow. Sarah felt their communication, not in words or thoughts, but in pulses of corrupted energy that spoke of rage and fear. "They think they've trapped us." Sarah's voice was calm as she watched them approach through multiple dimensions. "They don't understand what they're really facing." CLARIFI intention. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, or even our determination. Sarah stood straighter, feeling the neural bridge pulse with power. It's our ability to adapt, to take what seems like a disadvantage and turn it into something unexpected. The hunters were almost upon them now, their corrupted forms filling the sublevel with shadows that ate at the edges of reality. Sarah felt their confidence, their certainty that they had finally cornered their prey. "Your civilization discovered that consciousness wants to evolve," she continued, her words carrying harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "But you never fully understood what that meant. Evolution isn't just about becoming more advanced. It's about becoming something new, something that couldn't have been predicted." She raised her hands, and the station responded. Not just its systems, but its very structure began to shift, responding to commands woven into its quantum foundation. The hunters paused, their confidence wavering as they sensed something they hadn't expected. You wanted to prevent change. Sarah's voice carried both challenge and pity. Then let me show you what change really looks like. The sublevel began to transform, its walls flowing like liquid metal as ancient protocols activated. The hunters found themselves caught in a space that was rewriting itself around them, responding to commands that blended human intuition with ancient knowledge in ways that should have been impossible. Through the neural bridge, Sarah felt the entity's surprise and approval. UNPRACDENTD human innovation, combined with Guardian knowledge. That's who we are, Sarah replied, watching as the hunters struggled against the transformation surrounding them. We take different pieces and make them into something new, something neither side could have created alone. The battle for the future of consciousness was about to begin, and humanity's representative was ready to show the universe exactly what evolution looked like. The sublevel had become a quantum battleground, a space where reality itself fought against the hunter's corrupted presence. Sarah stood at its center, her consciousness expanded through the neural bridge, directing transformations that defied conventional physics. The hunters attacked in waves, their crystalline forms distorting space as they tried to overwhelm her defenses. But for every attack, Sarah had an innovation, combinations of human insight and guardian knowledge that created possibilities neither civilization had imagined alone. You fear evolution. Her voice resonated through multiple dimensions. Then witness it. The station's quantum substrate responded to her commands, creating geometric patterns that trapped the hunters in paradoxes of their own making. Their corrupted forms struggled against equations that turned their own fear of change against them. UNPRECDENTD defense. Hunters can not end because they're still thinking in absolutes. Sarah's enhanced mind tracked multiple battles across different dimensional planes. They want everything to be fixed, unchanging. But that's not how the universe works. Not really. Through the neural bridge, she felt the entity's agreement and concern. The crystalline structures in her brain were becoming unstable, the human and alien technologies reaching their limits of compatibility. A hunter broke through her outer defenses, its shadow crystal form lunging for the entity. Sarah responded instantly, redirecting energy flows to create a barrier of pure quantum probability. The hunter's attack scattered across possible realities, none of them able to reach their target. Your civilization discovered that consciousness evolves. Sarah addressed the trapped hunter, her words carrying harmonics that made its crystalline form vibrate. But you missed the most important part. Evolution isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming different, adapting, growing. More hunters pressed their attack, but Sarah had learned from each encounter. The station's systems responded to her commands with increasing sophistication, creating defenses that blended physical and quantum barriers in ways that even the ancient guardians hadn't conceived. Time limited. Neural bridge degenerating. I know. Sarah felt it. The crystalline structures in her brain were starting to break down. But we don't need much longer. She reached deeper into the station's systems, activating protocols that had waited millennia for this moment. The quantum substrate began to pulse with new energy, responding to commands that merged human and guardian understanding into something entirely new. The hunters sensed the change, their attacks becoming desperate. They could feel the transformation beginning, but couldn't comprehend its nature. Their corrupted forms pressed against her defenses with renewed fury. You wanted to prevent evolution. Sarah's voice carried both challenge and compassion. You can't. No one can. The only choice is whether to embrace it or be left behind. The station's transformation reached a critical point. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as ancient systems aligned with Sarah's innovations. Through the neural bridge, she felt the entity's wonder at what they had created together. CONVERGENCHEGEV'd. Transformation beginning. The hunters realized too late what was happening. The space around them began to shift, not just physically but fundamentally. The quantum equations Sarah had woven into the station's fabric weren't meant to destroy them. They were meant to offer one last chance at evolution. "This is humanity's gift to you," Sarah declared as the transformation reached its peak. Not destruction, not stasis, but change. The hunters' corrupted forms began to dissolve, not into nothingness, but into pure potential. The fear and rage that had driven them for so long was transformed into something new, a chance to become part of the very evolution they had fought against. As the last hunter disappeared into the quantum transformation, Sarah felt the neural bridge beginning to fail. The crystalline structures in her brain were breaking down, returning her consciousness to its human limits. Neural separation required immediate. Wait. Sarah fought to maintain the connection for one moment longer. The knowledge, what you were protecting, it needs to be preserved. Already preserve it in unexpected way. Through their fading connection, Sarah understood. The knowledge hadn't just been transferred, it had been transformed, just like everything else. Through their collaboration, through the very act of facing the hunters together, they had created something new. The wisdom of the Guardians would live on, not as mere information, but as part of humanity's own evolution. The neural bridge dissolved, and Sarah fell to her knees. Her human consciousness rushed back, overwhelming but somehow richer for its brief expansion. The entity moved to support her, its crystalline form glowing with renewed purpose. Humanity ready, not for me or G. For purity and irashapi. Sarah looked up at her alien friend, her purely human smile containing all the wonder and determination that had brought their species to this moment. "That's all we ever needed," she said softly. "A chance to prove ourselves, a chance to show what humanity can become." Above them, the station hummed with new life, its systems forever changed by the convergence of human and Guardian ingenuity. The hunters were gone, not destroyed but transformed, offering hope that even the most rigid resistance to change could be overcome. And in that transformed space, where human determination had met ancient wisdom, a new chapter in the story of consciousness had begun. Not just for humanity, or for the Guardians, but for all those who would dare to reach for something greater than themselves. The stars aligned, and the future beckoned with infinite possibility.